My name is Leo. I still remember the first time I ever set foot in a martial arts dojo. Even now the memory is vivid, as if it happened just yesterday. When I was 10, I was quiet, shy, and crowds made me nervous. I often felt invisible, blending into the background, hoping no one would notice me. My parents wanted me to find confidence, so one day my dad took me to Dragon's Path Martial Arts. I could see the hope in his eyes as we walked up to the entrance, and I wondered if this place could really help me change. The dojo was filled with the sounds of training, shouts, kicks, and the smell of hard work. The energy in the air was electric, and I felt both intimidated and curious. I felt out of place, clutching my bag, until a kind woman handed me a stiff white GI. Her gentle smile made me feel a little less alone, even though my hands were shaking. Wearing it felt strange, like I was pretending to be someone else. The fabric was rough and unfamiliar, and I wondered if I belonged here at all. On the mat, everyone paused to look at me. My face burned. I wanted to disappear, but I stood there, frozen, hoping the moment would pass quickly. The instructor, Master Kim, welcomed me with a bow and a smile, placing me at the back of the line. His calm presence made me feel a little safer, like maybe I could trust him to guide me. We bowed to the flags and to each other. My first lesson, respect. It was a ritual that felt important, like I was joining something bigger than myself. Warm-ups began. I was slow, clumsy, and out of breath. My legs felt heavy and I struggled to keep up, but I kept moving, determined not to give up. I watched the higher belts move with confidence and wondered if I could ever be like them. Their movements were sharp and precise, and I admired their focus. The journey ahead felt impossible, like a mountain I couldn't climb. Doubt crept in, whispering that I didn't belong here, that I would never measure up. But I was there, at the base, ready to take the first step. I realized that every journey, no matter how daunting, begins with a single moment of courage. The dojo was intimidating, but it was also a place of possibility. I could sense that if I kept showing up, something inside me might change. I realized that everyone there had started as a beginner, just like me. Each person had their own story, their own fears to overcome. I took a deep breath and tried to focus on learning, not on my fear. I reminded myself that it was okay to be new, to make mistakes and to grow. That day, I learned that courage is just showing up, even when you're scared. It's about taking that first step, no matter how small, and trusting that you'll find your way. I didn't know it yet, but I had already started to change. Each moment in the dojo was shaping me, teaching me lessons I would carry for years to come. The hardest part was over. I had walked through the door, and with that single step, my journey truly began. Being a white belt meant starting from zero. It was a blank slate, a place where I had no expectations to live up to, but also nowhere to hide. Every movement felt new, every lesson a challenge waiting to be faced. My first weeks were a blur of awkward stances and sore muscles. I remember the sting in my legs after stretching, the confusion of trying to mirror my instructor's movements, and the quiet embarrassment of not knowing left from right. I learned to make a proper fist, to stand ready, and to focus my energy into every stance, even when my body felt clumsy and unsure, and to move with purpose, to let my feet find their place on the mat, even when my mind was racing with doubt. Every mistake felt huge, especially when I fell during a front kick and the class went silent. The sound of my fall echoed in my ears, and for a moment I wanted to disappear. Maya, a green belt, helped me up. Everyone falls. The secret is getting back up. Her words were simple, but they carried a weight I didn't understand until later. That moment stuck with me. It was the first time I realized that failure wasn't the end, but a part of the journey. Breaking my first board was a turning point. It wasn't about the wood, but about breaking through my own doubt. The snap of the board was the sound of my confidence growing, even if just a little. Each class was a battle between wanting to improve and fearing failure. I wrestled with my own expectations, pushing myself to try again, even when I was afraid of looking foolish. I'd go home bruised, sometimes wanting to quit. The aches in my body were matched by doubts in my mind, and I wondered if I was really cut out for this. My mum reminded me of the joy I felt after small victories. She saw the spark in my eyes when I got a move right, even if it was just once. She told me growth takes time and effort, that every bruise was a lesson, and every lesson brought me closer to who I wanted to become. So I kept putting on my GI, tying my white belt, and returning to the dojo. Each time I felt a little braver, a little more determined to keep going. I learned that progress is slow, but every step forward matters. Even the smallest improvement was a victory worth celebrating. The dojo became a place where I could fail safely and try again. It was a world where mistakes were part of learning, not something to be ashamed of. I realized that fear and wonder often come together. The fear of failing was always there, but so was the wonder of discovering what I could do. With every fall, I learned to rise stronger. Each setback became a lesson, and each lesson made me more resilient. The secret was simple: keep showing up. No matter how many times I stumbled, I found the courage to return. That's how confidence is built. One class at a time, one small victory after another, until fear gives way to wonder and belief in yourself. Months later, my first belt test arrived. I was terrified, but I performed my kata and basics as best I could. When Master Kim tied the yellow belt around my waist, I felt real pride. Each new belt, yellow, orange, green, blue, was a milestone and a new challenge. The techniques grew harder, sparring became intense, and expectations rose. Sparring taught me control and calm under pressure. My family celebrated every belt. Each one was proof I hadn't given up. As I advanced, I was expected to help others just as I'd been helped. The belts weren't just rewards, they were responsibilities. I was no longer just a student, I was part of a community. Helping others climb the ladder deepened my own learning. The dojo became a place where we all grew together. Every belt was a reminder of how far I'd come. I learned that progress isn't just about skill, but about perseverance. The journey was about more than martial arts. It was about becoming better. Together, I was climbing, one step at a time. As a green belt, I hit a wall. My progress stalled and doubt crept in. Others seemed to improve faster, especially Sam, who started after me. I started making excuses to skip class, thinking about quitting. After a rough class, I told my dad I wanted to quit. He listened and reminded me why I started. He asked if the shy boy I once was had disappeared. He told me every journey has plateaus and perseverance is walking forward even when it's hard. The next class, Master Kim spoke about the green belt blues, a stage where many feel stuck. He said this is where real training begins, not just of the body, but of the mind. I realized I wasn't alone. Everyone faces this test. Quitting would be easy, but growth happens when you push through. I decided to keep going, even when it wasn't fun. The wall wasn't the end, it was part of the path. I learned that discipline means showing up, especially when you want to give up. The hardest battles are often with yourself. I kept training step by step. The lesson perseverance is the real secret. That's how you move forward. My biggest challenge came at my blue belt test, breaking a thick board with a sidekick. I practiced for weeks, but as I stood in front of my classmates and instructor, the pressure felt overwhelming. My heart pounded in my chest, and I could feel every eye in the room watching, waiting to see if I would succeed. I failed in front of everyone. The sound of the unbroken board echoed in my mind, and embarrassment washed over me. The board didn't break, and my confidence shattered. I felt small, defeated, and unsure if I even belonged there. I received my blue belt, but only if I could break the board within a month. It felt like a second chance, but also a heavy burden. The belt felt unearned, and I avoided the sidekick, afraid to fail again. Every time I looked at the board, doubt crept in. Master Kim noticed and told me a story. Failure is a teacher, not an enemy. He reminded me that every martial artist faces setbacks. The board didn't defeat you, your fear did. His words made me pause and reflect on what was really holding me back. I started seeing the board as a puzzle, not a symbol of failure. It became something to understand, not just to break. I went back to basics, practicing my stance and form. Each day I focused on the small details, determined to improve. Maya helped, holding pads and encouraging me. Slowly my confidence returned. Her support reminded me I wasn't alone in this journey. The fear remained, but my determination grew stronger. I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it. I realized overcoming fear was more important than breaking the board. The real test was inside my mind. I practiced, focused on improvement, not perfection. Each attempt brought me closer, even if I didn't see it right away. The dojo was a place to face fears, not hide from them. I realized everyone there was fighting their own battles. When I finally broke the board, it wasn't just wood, it was my self-doubt. The sound of the break was a release of everything I'd been holding back. That moment taught me resilience. I felt a new sense of pride, not just for the achievement, but for the journey it took to get there. Failure wasn't the end, it was the beginning of real growth. Each setback was a lesson, shaping me into someone stronger. I learned to embrace challenges, not avoid them. Every obstacle became an opportunity to learn and improve. The lesson, true strength is rising after you fall. It's about getting up, no matter how many times you stumble. I was ready for whatever came next. The fear that once held me back now fueled my determination. The journey was about becoming stronger, inside and out. I discovered that growth happens when you step outside your comfort zone. I had learned to rise, and with every challenge ahead, I knew I could rise again. Martial arts isn't a solo journey. The dojo became my second home, my classmates a second family. Maya, always supportive, helped me through tough spots and encouraged me to try again. As I advanced, I helped newer students, remembering how much that meant to me. Teaching others deepened my own understanding. We celebrated each other's victories and pushed through challenges together. The strength of the dojo was in our support for one another. On hard days, I showed up for my friends as much as for myself. Together we grew stronger. Master Kim taught us martial arts was about more than fighting. Every class began and ended with meditation, teaching us focus and presence. Discipline was in every detail, bowing, clean uniforms, standing still. It wasn't punishment, it was a tool for self-control. That discipline seeped into my life outside the dojo. I became more focused, responsible and calm. One lesson stood out: non-violence. The best block is to not be there, Master Kim said. We learned to avoid fights, use words first and only defend if necessary. True strength was in restraint, not aggression. Master Kim's wisdom shaped our character, not just our skills. A black belt is just a white belt who never quit. The hand is for helping, not hurting. These lessons became my moral compass. The real secrets of martial arts were about integrity and kindness. The kicks and punches were just the surface. The deeper lessons stayed with me everywhere I went. Martial arts was shaping who I was becoming. Testing for my black belt was the hardest day of my life. It started with a grueling run and endless exercises, pushing me to my limits. Years of discipline kept my mind calm, even as my body ached. I performed every kata, demonstrated self-defense and sparred multiple opponents. The toughest test, breaking 3 concrete blocks with a palm strike. I remembered my first board, focused and shattered the blocks. The final test was answering the master's questions. What does being a black belt mean to you? I said it was a beginning, a responsibility to keep learning and help others. When Master Kim tied the black belt around my waist, it felt heavy with meaning. You never quit, he said. Pride, relief and gratitude washed over me. I realized the journey had changed me forever. The black belt wasn't the end. It was a new beginning. I had become someone I never thought I could be. I had earned it. The black belt was a proud moment, but the real reward was who I'd become. The timid boy was gone. In his place stood someone confident and resilient. Martial arts gave me strength, not just physically, but in every part of life. The lessons from the dojo helped me excel in school and face challenges head-on. I learned to speak up, to focus and to persevere. The greatest secret martial arts is about conquering yourself, not others. Every time I got back up, I grew stronger. Now I help teach new students, passing on what I've learned. I see their fear and excitement just like I once felt. I tell them, everyone falls, but the secret is to always get back up. The journey never ends. The black belt is just the start. Martial arts is a lifelong path of growth, and that is the greatest secret of all.